What we've got here is a 2006 Highway 1 Telecaster in blonde, I guess you'd call it, blonde color. It's got a Seymour Duncan in the bridge, all maple neck, and I'm gonna change those strings, polish the frets up, and get going on the setup. When you've got a guitar that you're not familiar with, this little guy is handy. Digital caliper will tell you what kind of strings are on here, and this had 10s on it, so I'm gonna replace it with some more 10s. It's what I use on frets, and it gets oxidation right off there. I don't even think it's for guitars. I think it's like some kind of car product. S-I-M-I-C-H-R-O-M-E, I believe is how it's spelled. Semi-chrome. And if these were a lot dirtier or rusty or anything really bad, I might take some steel wool or fret erasers, but these are in good shape. So little semi-chrome, boom. When cleaning those frets, sometimes it leaves a little bit of black residue on the frets, which I don't like. I know I'm not supposed to necessarily oil this maple neck, so I just use a cleaner after I've done the frets, and it gets rid of any of that that black stuff that came off the fret. Sometimes it rubs a little bit along the actual fretboard, so just put a light coating of cleaner. I use Dunlop 65 string cleaner. I kind of feel like it's a real good cleaner for fretboards too. When you've got the strings off with these 3-barrel saddles on a Tele, so one time when you can really get into this area and clean off the bridge back here. I know I'm a weirdo, I'm using a Q-tip, but it just kind of bugs me when there's like a little dirt kind of stuck under there. So this is when I'll do that little detail work before I put the new strings on. I always like to make sure the strings are sliding real well through the nut slots, and I just do this kind of thing before I tighten the strings up. Sometimes use a little file, maybe just widen that slot slightly. Yeah, there we go. If you do a lot of string changes like I do, this little attachment for your drill, it's by Music Nomad, comes in pretty darn handy. Just go like that. Super fast. I always like to keep like a little piece of sandpaper handy when I'm putting new strings on. So I just fold a piece of paper, sandpaper in half, and go back and forth a little bit in the nut slot. Just kind of start with a nice clean slot. And just make sure, yeah. I feel like half the time putting stuff in nut slots ends up causing more friction than it gets rid of, because those things just dry up and get old in there. You might as well stretch the strings a little bit once you've got them on there. Otherwise, you'll just be tuning up again and again and again. A little stretching, save you some time during the setup. When you got some new strings on and you've got it tuned up, you ever notice that one string sounds a little dull, like this G? 90% of the time for me, that ends up being a problem at the nut, and just a matter of cleaning out that nut slot a little bit and making sure it's not getting pinched there. I got this thing on Amazon. It's probably about $5, and it's not even for guitar work, but a lot of guys use it for nut slots. And it's got a lot of different sizes of these metal rods, and they go down real small, and you can fit them into a nut slot like so. Just rub them back and forth. So we cleaned up that G nut slot a little bit. Just gonna sight down the neck, see what kind of relief we got going here. Nice flat neck. I'll measure the relief with a feeler gauge in just a second, but we don't got much relief at all. I already measured the string height and it's a little low. So we got to raise the action on this guy. Before I go any farther, I'll just put a capo on the first fret there and a fret at the 17th. Measure with the feeler gauge at the 8th. And yeah, hardly any relief. Probably going to need to loosen the truss rod a tiny, but a little relief in this guy. I like a flat neck, but this is bordering on back bow. Yeah, it's probably like 0.003, 0.002. So we'll loosen that truss rod. It's about half to 3/4 turn there. Look down the neck, see if you're getting anywhere. Still not much relief. Maybe another 1/4 turn, and then we'll measure again. Capo on the first. Let's guess 0.006. It's probably even less than that still. Let's see. No, we got at least 0.006. We'll just go up to the 0.10. Yeah, it's about 0.10. I will just tighten. I like a little less relief than 0.10 myself. I like to end up around 0.007 and thereabouts. So we'll see if this works. Because we loosened that truss rod, we ended up at 0.005 for now. We brought that action up a little bit when we loosened the truss rod, but it's still a little low. It's less than 0.05 on some of these. So I might just raise up the action a tiny. I like to be somewhere in between 0.50 and 0.60. And I like the strings to follow the radius of the neck. That means the low E and the high E will sit a little lower than the other strings. So you get a nice little curve with the strings. They're not just straight flat across. One thing I always like to do is fret at the 3rd fret and then press down on the 1st fret, just checking for how deep the nut slots were cut. And you want just a tiny bit of space between the string and the 1st fret when you do this. And everything looks good on this guitar. They're all nice and close to the 1st fret, except the high E is a little higher than the other strings. So just going to take a Stumac nut slot file and just cut it a tiny bit deeper. And you want to be real careful you don't go too deep, because if you go too far with it, then you're going to be in trouble getting down there. And you just test playing open, because you're going to know you went too far if it's suddenly sounding like it's buzzing when you play it open. Yeah, now it's close to where those strings are, and it still sounds good open. So got the action all at 0.60 at the 12th fret, and I usually play down low on the frets. Somebody showed me that once and it's just always stuck with me, playing on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th frets. That usually tells you right away if there's buzzing going on down here on these low frets. Maybe you went too far one way or the other with the truss rod. So it's sounding good there. Yeah, so you pretty much just want to make sure it's playing nice all over the neck at this point, and do some bending and make sure it's ringing nice everywhere. And then it's time to set the intonation. Play the open high E, play it at the 12th, sharp. So we're just gonna tighten back here on this saddle, and that's going to affect both the E and the B string. And need to tighten it more. So you got to keep going through tightening it or loosening it, then tuning and playing the 12th. That's perfect on the E. And now we just got to hope that the B is also perfect. And it is. This thing's all nice and intonated, and you want to play all over the neck again to make sure that when you move saddles around, it didn't cause anything to change, because the string length has been changed on these all now. It's always good to play some triads up and down the neck. Get your ear used to those sounds and do it every time you intonate. That way you can hear sometimes if something's just a little off. This sounds really good.